Time to strap in and get ready.
The leaders in NRL Supercoach are incoming. Bringing you the ultimate insight to help you win your leagues and climb up the rankings.
You're now listening to the Insight NRL Show with your hosts, Brain, Mattrix, and Whisperer.
G'day guys, welcome back. It is the end of round 18. We're approaching the final major bye. There's plenty to talk about, some players that have hit home runs this weekend and some players that definitely didn't. I'm the Supercoach Brain. Supercoach Mattrix is with me, as always. And, mate, how did you go? You've had a pretty big week. You'll probably be cracking 1,400 tomorrow morning when you wake up.
Yeah, I actually thought it was going kind of shit because it's hard to get excited about Tedesco going huge when, 70% of the top couple of percent did it. But, hey, come into this week with today's games with 4 players, a captain to play, and I was only on 850. So, yeah, definitely had a big... Actually, I had a huge day today.
A huge day. Yeah, I mean, usually when we're talking huge day, you had a little bit going on throughout the day. Maybe you went for a run. I think you called me this morning, didn't you? Mid-run?
Yeah, I went for a run. Yeah, I'd do that. I'm a picture of fitness, my friend.
I can imagine. I did all right. I got 1332. I think I left some points out there, to be honest with you. I mean, my start sets weren't great. That's probably what cost me maybe 60, 70 points this week. I played Ronnie Mulatalo over Iro, so that cost me about 25 points. I played Samuel Afainu over May and Curran, so technically that's another 36 points there. So what's that? About maybe 60, 65 points I left out on the table. Could have got me close to you, but you take the crown, I think, from what I've seen. So, mate, you're gonna have to get out there and purchase that crown and wear it on the show for Tuesday.
Yeah, what I want to do is I'm talking to my people about the corduroy hat. So if you wear it backwards, it's got the little crown up there.
Yes.
So yeah, little inside hat, and I just wear my hat backwards every week when I beat you. So, yeah, no, you actually haven't had it for a little while. Yeah, up the squeeze.
Yeah, no, I haven't had it for a while. I think it's been 3 weeks without a crown. Yeah, it's well and truly cemented off my head, that's for sure. But I'll do my best next week to try and grab it back. It'll be an interesting week because there are a number of different moves, and we've just got the New South Wales Origin team that's just come through as well. So we'll have a chat about that and our thoughts and how we approach next week. But obviously we're live, guys. So first of all, make sure to hit subscribe and like. We would love that. And audio listeners out there, hit the follow button and leave us a review. Now, we've obviously put a message in here. Drop your scores down. We've got Ian Johnson, 1375 to kick things off. Big score. And then we've got some massive ones. We've got Lyle with a 1416. Grimesy with a 1425. Huge score. At least his best score this year. We've also got Raymond Crane with a 1402. His partner got 1489. And Melissa Hanson with a 1474. This is making me feel pretty bad about my score, to be honest. But how about this one? Daryl Hancock with a 1529 this week, mate. That is monstrous. Very well played. That is some BDE, some big dick energy from old Daryl there. But yeah, one of those weeks, wasn't it? It's like you look at your score and you think, oh, I've done okay this week. And then you look at all of the scores in your head-to-head leagues and you go, fuck, maybe I didn't do as well as I thought I did.
I was looking at it all week, just disappointed. I'd brought in Nico last minute after spoking that I wasn't. There was just no rain around, and I had SJ sitting there. I had the money sitting there. It was burning a hole in my pocket, so I did that. So I was disappointed in him, and he updated a little bit, and I was disappointed in Dylan Brown and David Fafita. And then I just sort of cruised, and then you have a look, and just nobody scored bad. Your Garricks, your Dom Youngs, your Crichtons, your Katoas, even Finers, 51 was completely fine from him. And I was disappointed, in Dylan Edwards too, with 63, thinking I've lost cash and stuff. But it's not like anybody got a 20. So it just kept ticking along. So
Yeah, that's it. And I mean, I'm looking at the top scores here, and 11 players scored hundreds this week. The most popular captain option by a very large margin scored the highest score of the round. So it's always nice to get your captain right. Hopefully, for the majority of the listeners or viewers out there, they jumped on Teddy as the captain. But then Mitchy Barnett, Dane Gagai, Latrell Mitchell, Jason Saab, Wishart. I mean, even Lindsay Collins got over for a meat pie in 107. And then you got Jacob Gagai, who everybody jumped off probably 6 weeks ago, peeling out scores for fun, and we'll cover next week for you. Ruben Cotter, Hughes, and Buller then round out the other 300s for the week. So some big scores out there for obvious reasons with these 14 and 1500 scores coming in through the chat. We do have a little bit of question time, and we will probably try and fly through some things a little bit quicker so we can devote a bit more time to questions. So drop them in below, and we'll get to as many as we can before the show wraps up. But let's kick things off, mate. With first game, Rabbitohs Eels on Thursday evening. It's the first time we've had a Thursday game for what feels like a while, but 32-16 to the Rabbits, mate. What'd you take from this one?
Latrell's good, and then it was kind of ruined by the fact that he has an injury.
Killer.
Yeah, bit of late mail there for you. Follow all our socials for the final teams. But yeah, Latrell out for Origin, maybe out for the season. Left a parting gift for everybody else there. Those who held on to Jagai and that had a great win there with 106. But the Rabbitohs were looking like they were humming along. And then suddenly, now that we get to Sunday, I'm not that keen on the Rabbitohs.
Yeah, it's tough, isn't it? When you lose Trell, you lose your best player. I mean, it'd be different if you knew that he was going to be back in round 20 and you could have him for the run home and all the players around him become better, but now it just creates so many question marks not having Latrell there. We saw how poor they were when they didn't have Latrell. So, I mean, is Cody Walker going to be good enough to put the team on his back? Keon's been fantastic, but I mean, he's probably the only one I would feel that doesn't really get affected by the loss of Latrell. Keon has been a fucking beast the last month or so. I wouldn't blame you at all to get on him. He scored 80 in this one with no tries, no try assists, just a try contribution. So for the most part, 75 in base power, which is just insane. So any interest in Keon? The price is starting to get a little bit high though for me.
You do the same thing as me, and you go and add them in fantasy if you really like them in this. I've got him in fantasy, but I just think I would prefer a certain gentleman from the Sea Eagles that we're going to chat about a bit later more than Keon. And I say it due to his try scoring ability. I know Keon's been fine on the line, and I am a huge Keon fan, but yeah, he's probably just the sixth guy I'd want, and I've loaded up at second row forward, so I understand people adding him, but I won't be taking the plunge.
Yeah, for sure. And, for anybody, Lyle in the chat, for anybody who went and bought Latrell this week, incredibly unlucky. You can bank your points this week, and obviously you can burn the trade to get rid of him, but it does hurt that he's going to be missing up to 4 weeks, and it could even be the season. I don't know whether the news has been confirmed yet, that whether he's going to be going in for surgery or whether he's going to try and see out the rest of the season, but yeah, not good news for Latrell owners. So that's a Liz Frank injury, I think, as well. They're very similar, or the same injury that Mitchell Moses has just spent a lot of time out for with Callum Ponga as well. So, not good. Not good for Latrell.
Yeah, and Frank Sinster. So, Cody,
did you see the Walker thing?
No, I didn't.
They did exactly the same thing. They said Ian Frank. And then they made up some really wild story about how Liz Frank was a fucking shot putter in the 1988 Olympics and did an injury and all this kind of stuff. It was a very good story.
That one was just too easy. I went to Ian Frank's house when I went to Europe. But, Tane Milne, Cam Murray, all these guys scored above 60. I don't think we'll see a lot of relevance there. I know a few people that jumped on Damien Cook. You wouldn't be disappointed there with the 52. Can I just throw you one? If you really needed the cash, right, and you didn't like one of your 5/8 run home, would you consider going down to Jai Gray?
Oh, don't you know what?
At 270K, he's going to be playing, so you could play him in a pinch. I don't think that I think if you're downgrading one of those guys, I'm presuming you've got your, I've got Cody Walker, like a 600k guy, and like your Lockie Galvin. Like, if you really needed the 350k, you could go Jai Gray.
Yeah, I like it. Jai Gray's a quality player as well, and the big reason we didn't jump on him was, one, he was 5'8" only, and two, we just weren't confident enough that he was going to make it through to the major buys when we actually needed him. So it's now it becomes a little bit more relevant even for a 4-week play. But we only need to, I guess, jump if Latrell's out for the season. I definitely wouldn't be getting Jai Gray for a 4-week play. That's because we're running out of trades. We've got to make sure that we hold on to a few. That's a 2-trade play.
Yeah, or I don't know if it is, right. So hear me out. You've got a guy. Yeah, you've got a guy at 5'8", and you need a number for next week. Just go Jai Gray, play him the 1 week. Yeah. Maybe he makes 150k, and you do find a use for it later on, but you're probably just gonna end up letting him sit there, let him get to 400k, and let him marinate.
Yeah, look, I don't mind it. The only issue there becomes if you're the 5'8" that you're relying on playing every single week has a bye coming up. Like Galvin has a bye in round 26 in the head-to-head grand finals. So if you're relying on that, you're going to play without a 5'8" for the finals. Not ideal. And thanks to Hamo for the shout out. Mattrix looks like he's drank my 4 bolters 8 times.
I'm worried if I actually pay that bet out, then you'll stop throwing money at us. So
yeah, and the whole idea has been to drag this out. We actually had a whole meeting about you, Hamo, just saying like, let's delay the bolter payment because every single time he asks for his bolters, he pays us a $5. So you've actually just paid us like 2 4-packs worth of bolters. So appreciate that.
Thanks, bro.
Love you, Hamo. Anything else to talk about here? Damien Cook, a very popular trade-in with a 52. Not amazing. You wouldn't be happy, but you also wouldn't be upset. So that's fine. You can push on knowing that he's available next week.
Yeah, and maybe just like Gutho or some of those guys. Like Ryan Madison is probably a guy that's worth looking at sub 500k if you need a number. Like, again, I'm loaded at second row forward. I'm not looking there. But like, if you can't afford Keon Kolomatangi, Ryan Madison on an edge has been scoring well the last couple of weeks. So,
yeah, I had a chat with Jamie Brown, who big fantasy head, does a lot of fantasy content, plays Supercoach as well, of course. And I messaged him going, "Can you please talk me out of Ryan Madison?" Because I was going to buy him in fantasy because he's dual edge middle. I'm like, obviously fantasy a favourite base stats, and Ryan Madison's usually a PPM beast. And he's like, look, if you have to ask me that question, it's probably a no. But he was good. He was solid this week. And if he gets the minute, he played 70 minutes as well, which is positive. So, obviously the Hopgood injury there maybe has opened the door for someone or opened the door for extra minutes in that para rotation. So, yeah, definitely a close look or a watch. Bryce Cartwright, also a guy I kind of like. But at 2RF, you're kind of targeting maybe like 4 or 5 guys, aren't you? I'm sure we'll talk about him at some point.
Yeah, exactly. And like all these Eels guys, if there's anybody I want to attack from the Eels, even Dylan Brown's been disappointing, are probably those second row forwards with, like, yeah, it's great that Gutho's scoring there, but I'd have to be 25,000th to, be really excited about a pod like Gutho. But yeah, really it's only the second row forwards. And yeah, Brendan Hand's had the game of his life.
Yeah, and also Jay mentioned in the chat, Junior Bolo out for the season now as well. With a foot injury or toe injury or something like that. So, not good. Para forwards going down very quickly. So Ryan Madison could be the key, could be the answer to a lot of people's problems for a number next week, but also a guy you can reliably play every single week. So who knows? It could be Lane that plays more lock minutes or plays through the middle. It could be Matto that rotates through the middle. Could be kind of like a forward rotation by committee, I guess. No one really knows at this point what Trent Barrett's going to do. I don't think he knows either. But otherwise, not really much else going on here worth talking about except the fact that
Jake Targo, do you think he's enough that you could get? He looked all right. 204K, bottom dollar. If you were looking to get off somebody like a Val or that, he'll play next week and probably disappear into the abyss at some stage. I'm just starting to think of some nuffs if these people are short-handed. So,
yeah, Jake Targo, he's Isaac's older brother. Usually when a guy debuts, I'm like, oh, he must be his
Yeah.
younger brother, you know. But Isaac's 22 and Jake Tungo's 25. So got some years on him. Yeah. So I liked him. I mean, they have a very similar game, don't they? Like nuggety kind of hard runners of the ball, good, decent base for someone who got no attack. 36 is solid. And obviously we wait until he's named next week.
And the disallowed try too. Like, can
Yep.
find the line. I was cheering just for the kid in general. Or 25-year-old. He's older than Josh, but
if he gets named next week and obviously ends up playing at the 1 hour cut, he's good to go. He could be the perfect little kind of nuff at centre wing where you free up a ton of cash and you can make 2 more upgrades. We've got 3 trades next week. It might be a last crack to try and get your team set up if you've got a few trades in the bank. So yeah, he's probably my pick of the nuffs unless someone comes from real left field next week. But yeah, I like it because I don't think he's going to be that AE nightmare that gets you 15 either. Like it just looks like the work rate's there. So, and then hopefully he drops out of the team pretty quickly. But Sivo's out for 6 weeks. Is there a world where he holds the spot for that long?
yeah, and he could, which makes him playable if the Eels are good. I think the Eels are shot this year, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah.
I'd probably look to play him that 1 week and he just sits there. Again, marinating if he gets named. I don't think he's an AE nightmare. I think we saw his floor in this game. So that's 30.
Good shout. Yep, for sure. Can I also say that the drop off? Everyone asks about Alex Johnston, and he's bottoming out. He's so cheap. He's like 300. He'll be 350K next week.
Oof.
But no way in the world is he a buy at the moment off the back of that. Just because with Cody Walker on the right and Jack Whiten, the ball hogging, running, run priority 5'8" that Jack Whiten is, AJ is not going to get any ball at all. So definitely, even if you're tempted, I wouldn't look at him for even a number next week because that is a nightmare potential with the lack of base.
Mate, he could score 6.
It's sad, isn't it? Yeah, thanks to the half kind of issue that they've got, I guess, at the Rabbitohs. But mate, we probably let's before we talk about the Sharks and the Titans because there's a bit to talk about with Nico. Let's have a chat about this New South Wales team because there are a few, I guess, relevant things coming through, comments and chats, questions coming through about Ola Kawatu. He obviously misses out in this one. So he's been replaced by Mitch Barnett. As a Queenslander, what are your thoughts? How do you feel about that?
We're Queenslanders.
Yeah, good. That's fine. Didn't ask.
No, did you see Billy in that interview? They kept asking him questions and we're like, he's just like, we're Queenslanders.
I didn't
but no, me neither. I just think he's just playing ducks and drakes. But
he didn't have an answer.
Yeah, I think I would have picked Mitch Barnett. And it's great to be, sitting on the couch drinking beers saying, I would have picked Mitch Barnett all along. But I'm just a huge fan of Mitch Barnett's game and I'm excited to see him get a crack. I think his game's made for Origin. And I think Hamoli, if you're looking for a guy that you're going to play in the second row for 80 minutes, then great. You play him out there. He's not going to make a mistake. He's got try-scoring potential. But, yeah, Barnett could get involved in the grind, could play front row, could play second row, versatile. Yeah, I think that's a really good pick. Doesn't affect super coaches as well, which I love that for us.
It's kind of positive for super coaches, isn't it? With who we gain, in return for Mitch Barnett, and I do agree somewhat. I think Hamoli's been hard done by purely because I don't think he did enough to be dropped. If it isn't broken, don't fix it. But he's come off a really dominant win. He wasn't bad. Yes, they targeted him on that edge, but Queensland always are dominantly left-sided players. Like that's their whole game plan is to attack our left edge defensively. So I don't know whether they were trying to target him specifically. I just feel like he was on that edge that got peppered a bit. So if there's a reason to drop him for that, I don't know. I think it's pretty stiff. But in saying that, Mitch Barnett, the ultimate utility, can play through the middle and on an edge. So I understand why we'd probably want that flexibility off the bench rather than Ola Kawatu.
Yeah. All I get a little worried with this team, again, when if a winger goes down, that's probably the only time there's a little bit of a hole. You saw us when we had Walsh, obviously, driven into the ground. You've got, we had Cobbo, which, again, everybody thought was super interesting at the time, but it really worked out in that game. So, yeah, that's probably the only thing, but I love the versatility of Connor Watson. Yeah, I love all these other guys. I think this is nearly how I would pick the team. Maybe watching Tedesco play, like maybe he was an option. Maybe I would have gambled on Turbo, but I don't really think that's the play. Bradman Best has been there before. He's been one of the best.
Yeah, good little play on words from you. I don't know whether you intended that or not, but yeah.
I did actually.
Bradman Best coming in makes the most sense. I was really fucking scared that they were going to go with Turbo. Just that doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. I think that would have been a bad move. I don't think Turbo looked at his best. I think he's going to have to take some time to get back into his game a bit. But yeah, I'm glad. Now the Maroons team has been announced as well. We'll get to that very soon if we can. Yeah, so a few chats coming through. I'm trying to scour Twitter at the moment, but I don't have a Courier Mail subscription, and I refuse to pay Queensland anything.
So somebody just slided into my DMs. I will we'll get it across, and after we go through a few more games, we will talk about the Queensland team. But more importantly, if Checo underperforms, could you see Daniel Ricciardo really take that Red Bull spot off him? Because that's on at midnight tonight. And I tell you what, there's going to be some fireworks. We've got Lando Norris at home, the Britishman at Silverstone. You've got Max Verstappen, the dog. He's a weak-gutted dog, I would say. And yeah, there's just going to be so much going on. Lewis Hamilton at home, like George Russell coming off his win, just stepping home again. I tell you what, there's going to be some absolute scenes tonight.
I can imagine. I didn't understand a word you just fucking said, but it all sounds very, very exciting. So that's fantastic. Yeah, let's turn it into an F1 podcast. Flying Toilet. We'll see him in the NBL season, I'm sure, when NBL Supercoach starts flying around. But, I mean, from a New South Wales perspective, it's good that they haven't changed the rest of the team. They've made changes to, the two necessary positions with Trell being out, Bradman Best coming in. He's earned that. But I think the rest stays as is, which is fine. And if anybody wants to pop the team or some of the changes or anything into the chat, we'll cover them and give you our thoughts on those because I can't actually find it. But it looks like Fafita's been named. Pong has been named. It looks like Reid Marnie's come into the Queensland squad as well. From what I'm seeing. Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. Which might be cover for Harry Grant and his sternum injury.
Yeah, he must be banged up. Yeah,
out of me as an owner. But yeah, so Reid Marnie's 18th man. Thanks, Ange, for letting us know there. This is all. It's not the confirmed team. This is just reports from, news outlets. So
yeah, which they were spot on. News outlets were spot on with basically this New South Wales team earlier on. So we'll chat about it in a couple games. But Sharks versus the Titans. Sharks suck. Titans are the Titans. Britt Nickera, though, does not. 92.
He's about the only one, really, that you can feel good about for the Sharks. Obviously, we've got a few Sharks supporters inside the Discord that are subscribers of Inside Unlimited as well, and we love them for it. But I'll tell you what, they're pulling their hair out, the Sharks supporters at the moment, aren't they? Because you can just see that there is two handbrakes in this team that are making things pretty tough. One is Braden Trindle, and just his necessity to get the ball in his hands on the executing plays. Like the fourth and fifth tackles, he's got the ball in his hand more than Nico does, which is, I mean, I'm not even talking Supercoach at the moment. Like just looking from a football perspective, it's just Braden Trindle has the ball in his hand way too much and is not doing.
I mean, he actually scored pretty well for Supercoach for a 400k guy, but that's because he's not passing it.
Yeah, 100%. There's just not enough going on, and I mean, even Trindle's doing a lot more kicking in play now. So, I mean, we said this like fucking 2 months ago as well before Trindle went and got a little bit silly and drove a car when he shouldn't have, and the rest of it. But, is there now genuine concern that Nicho Hynes, but maybe we just sit and wait again? Do we really need him for next week?
Yeah, I think you do, especially when he plays the Tigers. The Tigers played fairly well this week, but we saw some really big scores against them.
Yep.
I do think the play is to get Nicho. And yeah, you're going to be excited if you had Jerome Hughes over Nicho and blokes like that. But I think for a number, for upside, like we're talking about Nicho Hynes having this terrible year. He scored 68 and he's averaged 80 throughout the whole year. Like, he's still better than the rest. Like, he's still one of the best, and he's still a vice captain option on any given week due to having that high ceiling. We're seeing a slump, and it's disappointed, but it's also allowed us to buy him for $700K this week.
Yeah, I mean, anybody that waited is in the prime position now to just pick him, because I think, like, you can't watch him and feel good about yourself against the Tigers next week. You just can't. It's a major buy round as well. There's a lack of genuine captain options next week, and I think at the end of the day, when you filter at halfback and you go and have a look at the players, you got Nicho Hynes is still the second highest scoring halfback in 12 games in comparison to everybody else's 14 and 15 games. So, when he does go large, he averages 115 over that 4 to 5 week span without Trindle. Obviously, those scores have dropped off a little bit now, and the only halfback that scored more points than him is Dylan Brown, and no one has him at halfback anymore. You've got him at 5'8" for the most part. So,
yeah,
I think, if you're going to pick him up, it needs to be now. He's going to be, what's he going to be? About $700K on the dot, or pretty close to it. And he'll have another break even of about 100, I think, from memory. So he'll probably cover that next week, you'd like to think.
Yeah. And if so say you hate the Nicho Hynes play. He's playing the Tigers and he's going to go probably really well. He scored 68 in a game where he got beat. He's a vice captain option at the very least.
Oh, 100%.
You don't have two. Sorry, I don't care what team you have. You don't have two better halfbacks than Nicho Hynes playing round 19.
No, and you don't need to. That's the beauty of it. At the end of the day, you give yourself one captaincy option. If you want to VC him, you probably get a free loop next week anyway, with the amount of players that are out, with the amount of players that are dropping like flies or getting picked in Origin when we didn't expect it. So, and look, Nathan Cleary, Grimesy asking in the chat, are we not waiting for Cleary? I mean, feel free to get both, but you probably want to see a little bit from Cleary first. Maybe see a round or two from Cleary, considering he'll probably have a high break even as well. We can wait until round 21, 22. And that's if he comes back in round 20. We don't know that yet.
And with all these duels, like, again, you don't have two better halfbacks than Nicho. Like, I think I'd still rather Cleary than a Jerome or somebody like that. Like, I could just move like a Cody Walker or somebody like that to a Cleary rather than a Nicho. I'm hoping that everybody's ran out of their trades and I'm sitting there with Nicho and Cody Walker, and I end up trading like a Cody Walker to Cleary.
Yep, fair call. I've got Nicho. I haven't traded him out all year. I've held him all year. So I don't have this issue, and I'm glad I haven't made these trades. But in saying that, like, it's tricky. It's definitely tricky. But next week is no question as to whether I'm going to chuck an armband on him. It'll either be blue or orange. We'll see how we go. But Jerome Hughes, I don't know. I'd hold Jerome Hughes, really. Like, he's been fantastic. And obviously, if and Ange makes a good point in the chat, if the Storm start resting their players, and we see that that's starting to become a trend, and Jerome Hughes gets a rest a little bit earlier, then maybe you can make that move. But Hughes has been fantastic. Sharks and Titans are obviously playing next week, so two very relevant teams, along with the Rabbitohs and the Eels that we just spoke about too. But the Sharks have a bye in round 20, which could be a pretty tricky week to navigate, considering a lot of us might still have Iro. If you've got Mulatalo, you've got Nicho, you've got Nikora. There's 4 guys on the bye in round 20 in a mini bye where you have to actually have 17 on the field. So you've got to be careful you don't get caught out in round 20.
I don't book in trades, but Kale will not be in my team past round 20. Could be the most frustrating player in the world.
I mean,
no, it's great. Like, he just scores 50s for fun. At least Ronnie Mulatalo, I've seen him score 160 before, but I've also seen him score 6 before. Kale will just score you 50 every week and give us 10 points either way, 8 points either way, 6 points either way.
Yeah, it's true. He's got the best COV in the game, surely. Like, scores between 50 and 60 every week, 48 and 60. That's all you're going to get from him. 0 attack. Not much going on for the Titans. David Fafita with a 52, probably one of the quietest games I think I've seen him have in recent memory, anyway, from this season especially. And if Billy Slater picked him off the back of this 52, I thought, what a complete piss take that would have been. But now that we're seeing the team and the rumours, it doesn't look like Fafita's been picked for Queensland.
No, which mad in itself. I just think that have a look at what Latrell did to the Blues, and then Fafita instills that fear in New South Wales people. But maybe that's enough about Origin until we take a deep dive into the Queensland team. But Keanu Kinney is going to be 770K or something stupid next week.
He's been so good, man. He's made 100K this week. Like, that is just wild to think that he's going to be like the fourth or fifth most expensive fullback in the whole game. Like 70K is just insane. So anybody who jumped on him, great, because we probably told you not to. But, do you really want him the whole run home? Probably not. So you're going to have to spend a trade there. But the good thing is you've made the cash. And you're in a better spot than me, who has Fletcher Sharp still sitting at fullback. So I'm going to make a decision on what I do there next week too. Mate, let's move on. We'll go to the Broncos Panthers, because this one was a good game. I watched this one on replay. So I only caught the KO mini of it. So give us your best rundown, mate. What happened?
Broncos played their best game that they've played for a little while, and Jock Batten was actually on fire. He's fucked now. So he's gone. So our top three halfbacks are injured now. But the Panthers threw class. They had an absolute ripping try. You'll see one of the best tries through that KO mini there. But yeah, basically, Brian Toto was a beast. Reece Walsh took the game by the balls. The Broncos veterans really stood up. And yeah, just a grand final rematch that we all wanted to see. We probably expected less from the Broncos and maybe more from the Panthers. But yeah, we got a rip snorter of a game. I don't know where the Broncos go from here. I suppose Josh Rogers comes into the team from outside of the top 30, I think. But he's played a game before in first grade. I didn't know. I thought maybe they'd even play a Billy at 5'8" or halfback or something like that. But anyway, positive for the Broncos. The forwards went forward, which I suppose you could lock in a good Payne Haas after Origin. You can even, know what you're expecting if you've got some of these guys in draft. But yeah, Dylan Edwards, I suppose, disappointed me from the Panthers.
Yeah, look, we had this chat last week, and there's this growing maybe concern on my end that Dylan Edwards probably fades off a little bit at the back end of the year, especially when Cleary comes back. Like, we know that Dylan Edwards' scores all came when Cleary was out. And even though Cleary is still out, I feel like, he missed a couple of goal kicks from what I've seen as well. Like, he didn't kick that well and didn't really insert himself in the game anywhere near as much as what I would expect from Edwards. So, yeah, if you still have him, he's a hold until Cleary gets back, but you've just got to then reassess. Like, you're looking at these draws now for the run home. Like, Kalen Pong is going to be severely discounted in a couple of weeks. Latrell's going to be out for a month, which makes things tougher, because Latrell and Teddy was, in my head, the two lock and load fullbacks for the run home that had the best draws. And now with Trell out, that makes things trickier. But
I love it for Supercoach, because we're going to see a little bit of a variation in the teams. Like, you get a Dylan Edwards get 100, great. You get a Ponga that gets 100. Like, it actually proves a difference. Like, it was a bit disappointing today when everybody's excited. Like, I was getting messages excited about Teddy, and I was like, well, I'm not, because everybody I know captained him. And if you didn't captain him, you lost this week. But yeah, I think that we could, like, if you captain Ponga and people don't have the trades to get Ponga in at this stage, could be absolutely huge. Even like a Reece Walsh after Origin, like, yeah.
Don't mind that either. Yep, absolutely. And obviously the Broncos have a lot more to play for this year. In a sense that they've got to try and make the 8, which is a crazy conversation to have after the season that you had last year. But, I can't imagine Kevy's going to be resting too many of his players for the run home. You guys are going to be having a red hot crack, I'd like to think.
It's going to be all hands on deck. And yeah, was having a chat to some people, I suppose, close to the team. And maybe a couple of weeks ago, they thought, well, it shifted from finishing top 4 to let's just make sure we get in the 8 and give ourselves a good chance. Let's try and get everybody back healthy. We won't risk any injuries or anything. But yeah, you still just need to make sure that you make the 8 to get the chance, because they still have, like, you look down this list and you're looking at your Reece Walsh's, Ezra Mann, Payne Haas, Paddy Carrigan, Selwyn Cobbo, all these guys. Like, they've still got a ripping team, even if they're just outside the 8.
100%. Adam Reynolds is coming back as well, isn't he? Round 23, I think,
Yeah,
around that
something
mark.
like that. Yeah,
Like that's going to be a huge boost for you guys. You get him for the final month in the push, and we always talk about timing your form leading into the playoffs for American sport and all that kind of stuff. Like, you can't be good all year unless you're the Panthers. Every team needs to go on their runs, and if you guys have a little bit of a shit run through the middle of the year and you come home strong, anything can happen, I think. Especially in the competition that's so tight. I think we look at the ladder and, like, there's 5 teams from like 3 to 8 that are all on the same amount of points. So yeah, anything can happen this year. Mate, let's quickly touch on the Bulldogs and the Warriors, which for me was, I don't know whether I want to call it like the best game I've ever seen, but like 13-12, missed drop goals everywhere. Chanel Harris-Tavita had a couple cracks to ice it at the end in Golden Point. Matt Burton hit one off the post, and then the second one goes off the post and goes in. So there's plenty of drama in this game, but good win by the Bulldogs, and they're just turning up every single week, and it's like the grit and grind Memphis Grizzlies.
Yeah, thanks, man. You've been reading my group chats, but I think I'm just going to turn Bulldogs games on with 10 minutes to go every game, because it's always close. There's always just seems to be something happening towards the end. The stocks that you want in these teams, I think, are your forwards. But yeah, look, it's great to see Bulldogs playing good footy. I really like Matt Burton. I just like a lot of these players. I like watching Reid Marnie play. I think he's an absolute pest. I enjoy watching like your Connor Tracy's and stuff. It's just good when the Dogs are good. And yeah, disappointing for the Warriors, but Mitch Barnett probably solidified his spot there in this one.
He was fantastic. He had 1 try assist, but the rest, like 51 tackles, 8, like insane, like only 4 tackle breaks, but had 10 offloads. The guy was in everything. 42
That's 40 points, isn't it?
Yeah.
In offloads.
So 5 offloads, not 10.
Yeah.
But 138 points with basically 1 attacking stat, which is crazy. So, and very well-earned spot this week. I know some people, if he was named for New Zealand in round 20, were looking at him for the run home. So, which is still an option, I think. He's just getting a bit too expensive for me. But Josh Curran, he's been the guy that's like, no one knows his role. Seraldo doesn't even know what his role is. He's like a Mr. Fix-It. And now with Jamin Salmon, who I also believe the Warriors were hard done by, with Jamin Salmon not being sin-binned or penalised right at the end of that game there. That should have been Warriors win, honestly. Like, that's a sin bin every day of the week. And he's been charged for it, and he's going to miss some time anyway because he's injured. But
yeah, I know. And then but I also don't think he misses 2 or 3 weeks if he gets sent to the sin bin as well. And I know Jordan Ricky did earlier on, but I wonder if that's a little bit of the makeup call there.
Maybe. I mean, again, are we going to have Ainsley coming out tomorrow saying, yeah, it's a bad call, referees were wrong again? Because when you go and charge a guy after the game and there was no penalty in the game that could have decided the result of that game, like, surely you've got to look back at that and go, well, that was the wrong call. He should have he should have gone to the bin. It should have been a penalty, and he should be missing some time based on the fact that he had to be sin bin for the action. So, when you hit a guy in the fucking head with your shoulder, see you later.
He's a weak-gutted dog.
He is. He's
a Max Verstappen.
Okay. I'm sure people will get that reference. Maybe not me. But Bulldogs don't play next week, so we're obviously not looking at too many of them. We'll probably try and just...
Carraz updated quite well.
Yeah, 63 kind of felt like he did nothing all game as well. So to be fair, that was a pretty good result. What else is happening here, mate? Reid Marnie goes into camp, 62. Would you look at Reid Marnie if you're looking for like a JMK replacement and you held off? Would you try and get Reid Marnie for the run home?
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, I wanted JMK because of the bye coverage, I suppose, was something that excited me all year. I spoke JMK all year and didn't own him. But yeah, Reed Marnie is probably the most JMK guy out there because, yeah, Appy Coruscaws and blokes like that are going to get 90s and going to get 30s. I think 55 is Reed Marnie's floor this year. Especially with the way that the Dogs are so grindy, it plays into the way that Reed Marnie plays.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, like, even though everyone's starting to come out now, talk about how he's a pest and all that, like, this hasn't been it's actually got into the media now, like, where the media are saying that Reed Marnie needs to be taken control of and, someone needs to talk to him about, fuck off, it's professional sport, let him be a pest. That's the best part of it.
Yeah.
If you can't handle a little bit of fucking talk and a little bit of niggle on the rugby league field, then you shouldn't be playing the sport. I'm all for it. Let him keep having a crack.
I really like him. He's a Mick Ennis type.
He would be like you for the mother lickers in B grade basketball, I reckon.
Fuck. Oh, I tell you what. Sometimes I just stand on people's shoelaces as you're lining up for the. So then when they go to jump off, their shoelace undoes.
Very good. I'd say that's probably one of the, not one of the only little tactics that you've got on a Tuesday night. That's for sure.
There's a couple.
Good. Chance Nickel-Klokstad, calf. Looks like he's going to miss some time as well. So we might see maybe Taini Tuapiki come back into the team.
Yeah. And like if it was his first rodeo, then you maybe would get excited. But because he's centre wing eligible. But yeah, now that he's 400K. Yeah,
pretty much.
Otherwise,
I'm not really. What about AFB? It's the first decent score that he's had for a while. 69 he finished on, so he'll still lose about 30K this week, which is
I'm more interested in him at 570K than I was at 750K because I know who he is. Like, yes, it's fine to get these guys that can find the line, but we saw Jackson Ford touch 700K at one stage, and now he's 470K. If you're buying these guys that you're relying on these attacking stats, at least buy them when they're cheap. AFB could be really interesting for the run home because I don't think the Warriors are going to throw in the towel. I think they're going to keep pushing. They're still just close enough.
Yeah. I think, they're getting kind of teased, aren't they? I think this result will make it pretty tough to make the top 8 and have a finals run. But I mean, my concern for AFB as well is just the fact that, the drop in form, that's fine. And you can pick him up cheap. But is his, like, if they miss the finals, is his head just going to be in Cronulla already and he's just going to kind of phase out of his last season? Or you reckon he's going to have a fucking not crack?
No, I just think he's the sort of angry man that likes scoring tries.
But I mean, Ian Johnson makes a good point about the round 27 bye as well for the Warriors, which... You'd
only do it if you had a Finu or somebody like that.
Yeah. Round 27 is going to be tough enough, I think, as it is this year. So, look, it's probably worth maybe looking at a Payne Haas or someone like that instead. Mate, that's the first 4 games. Very quickly, we'll do a shout out to Ryan from Astute Newstead, one of the long-term sponsors. If you're or if you're looking to get into the rental into the home loan market, and you want to buy a house, then you can hit up Ryan from Astute Newstead. He'll give you confidential lending assistance, no obligations as well. It doesn't actually, all he does is basically talk to you about your situation, and he'll get an understanding of how he can help you. And if it's the fact that you want to get your interest rate down, maybe, if it's above 6.2%, he's your man. He can get that down. You can save some cash. Or if you want to get into the market and you want to buy your first house, Ryan will help you do that. So hit him up. His link tree is in the description below. Now, mate, you want to talk about these Queensland team that's popped up?
Yeah, let's do it. Reece Walsh was named at fullback, Selwyn Cobbo to the wing. You were kind of expecting that. But with the late injury to Murray Talagi, we're seeing Val on the wing, which I like. He was there a lot earlier. He doesn't seem to get that involved at centre. And I do wonder if it's, as he's getting older, people are okay with that, but not for Origin. I like Gagai. I just think that he is a big game player. He was huge today as well. I know we haven't got to that game yet.
For me, I would rather not see Dan as a New South Welshman. I fucking hate Dan Gagai in Origin. Origin Dane Gagai, it's like, the Simpsons meme when you got Krusty the Clown and you're like, you got to turn him on and off on the back. And then it has Dane Gagai, and it had when he was playing for the Rabbitohs, it's like, oh, damn it, someone left him on Rabbitohs again. Because, Queensland Dane Gagai is just a different beast, man. He's very good. And if he plays anything like he did today, I'm very nervous. I think it's a good pick.
Yeah, and then we see Fafita named. I like Capewell. I think that he's a serviceable player that's reaching his prime, but I would much rather David Fafita there. I don't mind Kalen Ponga for some coverage, and then even Reid Marnie as the 18th man, just in case Harry Grant's not right. Yep. So, I really not like the team. Ben Lewis has a different team to what I'm reading reported on Fox Sports. So that's Mo Fotuaika instead of Felice Kafusi, and then Fafita named with Kalen Ponga 17. So, which I prefer to have Kalen Ponga in the mix. Just like if you want to have your best players available on the park, I don't think Felice Kafusi, I don't think Jaden Sewer playing an extra 20 minutes or Paddy Carrigan being a bit more puffed really affects like just having Felice Kafusi come on for 30 minutes. I'd rather have the option of a Kalen Ponga.
I think Kalen Ponga off the bench just kind of covers all bases. You know how often an outside back goes down in Origin, and how, obviously we saw for New South Wales in game 1, as soon as you lose that player, and for you guys, as soon as we lost that player and it was 13-12, it's a different game. But it does make it tricky if you didn't have that coverage. Like if you didn't have Selwyn Cobbo come off the bench as the perfect fill, then things might have been a little bit different. And for me, I think we're looking from, so Ben Lewis is one from the Courier Mail. We're reading the one from Fox Sports. So Fox Sports has David Fafita in, and Courier Mail has David Fafita missing. So I'm very
Felice Kafusi in. Yeah.
I'm interested to see what
I really hope it's... You know what? I actually hope for my Supercoach team, and this is a Supercoach podcast, that David Fafita misses out. And I'm captaining David Fafita next week. If he misses, I'm vice-captaining Nico, captaining David Fafita. If not, great. I think that Billy's made the right decision if Fafita plays off the bench. Like, if you're not that high on Fafita, then at least bring him into the team.
Oh, for sure. It just, maybe Billy's words in game 1 are still sitting in the back of his head, and he doesn't want to be a hypocrite. We'll come to that message. I just saw that one come in. That might be a talking point in a game's time. We'll wait until tomorrow for the actual confirmed Queensland team before we give our thoughts. But look, if Fafita's out, you still hold. If you don't have him, get him in round 20. He's a guy you're going to want in your team. Now, obviously, with the before we move on to the Tigers and Storm game, with Ponga being picked off the bench, there is plenty of promise next week for Fletcher Sharp. So for anybody who held on to Fletcher Sharp, which he should have this week because he still had a negative 30-odd break even, he makes 38K this week and comes into next week with about a 32 break even, I think, from what I've seen. So you'll have another number there. You'll have a starting fullback for the Knights there, which is
a decent number too, because he's been good when he starts.
Yep, absolutely. So positive there, and then Fletcher Sharp will probably be a trade in round 20, which is completely fine. Let's talk Tigers and Storm, mate. 40-28, the Storm got up in this one, but as a Tigers supporter, I actually don't really feel too bad about this game. Like I feel pretty good about the fact that we scored the most points against the Storm this year. I think they've only had one team score more than 28 against them this season. So the fact that our attack is starting to click is the positive thing for me. Our defense has always been questionable. We've had 11 sin bins in the last 10 weeks. So
sin bins cost you the game, like just a little bit of discipline in this one.
100%. It costs us nearly every week for the most part. Like we've been good recently, and
talent usually costs you, but
it's nice to see Craig Bellamy and the presser give us props though, and say that we're going to be a force to be reckoned with in a few years once the young guys come through and stick around. So hopefully that happens. But anyway, over to
hopefully you can keep them.
That's the tricky part. Tyron Wishart, mate, 108. It feels like the guy that got away, the guy that I just never got in my team because I wasn't 100% sure on him. I had other priorities in trades at that point in time when he was starting to be the pickup. And goodness me, like he'll make another 30K, 650K next week. Munster isn't back until I think around 21 or 22 at the earliest at this point in time. So
yeah.
fantastic.
Well, I just thought he was a guy that might score 60 or 70 a lot of weeks, would never be a genuine captain option, but he's been the spark. He's come into his own. And when we've seen him play beside Munster, he definitely isn't as good than when he plays beside Jerome Hughes. So, yeah, great job for everyone who grabbed onto Wishart. Jerome Hughes has been the best halfback of the last 4 weeks.
Big time. I would go ahead and say I reckon he was probably my best trade in this year. And I mean, I'm not talking about like cash generation or anything like that. Just like the timing, because I bought him in round 14 when the Storm went on that run after that first major buy, and he scored 117, 108, 90, 78, and now 101. So there's 300s in 5 games for Jerome Hughes and a 90 and a 70. So he's been absolutely outstanding. And honestly, I would argue that if you have Nico and Hughes, that could be the 2 halfbacks to have for your run home. There's no reason at the moment to trade Jerome Hughes out. Obviously, it's a different story when Munster comes back, though. That's probably the one thing we need to look at and make a call on when Munster's back.
I don't know. They might ease him back into it, and Jerome just continue to grab the team by the balls. But you know who it's great for when Jerome Hughes is going great? Eliesa Katoa.
Yeah.
The elephant.
Gun. Absolute gun. Just finds the try line, doesn't he? For me, he's nearly a must-have. I'll say he's a must-have 2RF for the run home. I think when we're talking about the 2RFs we're targeting, we're looking at Fafita, we're looking at Crichton, Katoa, Olakau'atu.
And Nikora.
And Nikora is the guy that you either got or didn't get last week or the week before. And it's too late to get Nikora now, I think. If anybody you're going to be picking next week, it's going to be Olakau'atu over Nikora just based on price and the fact that the Sharks suck at the moment. But yeah, for me, I think Katoa is a must-have for the run home, and hopefully most of you will have him. But yeah, he's been awesome. So props to all the owners there. Ryan Pappenhausen returned with a 71. He was good, scored a try, looked as dynamic as he always has. So yeah, for me, I mean, is he a buy? Now, of run home, I'm talking run home fullback buy around 20.
No, he's still 650K. Wouldn't you rather like a Reece Walsh or somebody like that, or wait for a Ponga or someone to drop? I'm still not convinced, especially like Suafa'alongo's sitting there as well, and he's going to get his if they're playing him in this Queensland Ponga role, I suppose. Yeah. But I love Paps, but I don't think he's in my top 5 fullbacks for the run home.
If he had the goal kicking, it'd be a different story. We'd be talking
but he
about
doesn't
him much
anymore.
more. Yeah, that's right. Which makes him less relevant. So I tend to agree. I think I'd be picking a number of guys before I'd pick Pappenhausen, unfortunately. And just the injury risk, it just seems like the bloke goes up the stairs and does something. So like, and as sad as that is, it's just a liability when you're talking Supercoach with fucking 10 trades left for the season. That's just not a position you want to put yourself in for the run home. But can we talk Suafa'alongo when he scored the try and he stepped, who was it? Because it was off the set piece off the scrum, wasn't it? And they went short side off the scrum and burnt the centre. But then who was running around? It would have been Buller at fullback maybe coming across.
Yeah.
And
it was Olam and Buller, right?
Yeah, it might have been Olam that he stepped. Anyway, whoever it was, he stepped them and then just broke their ankles and then looked back at them as he scored. It was like, you know, when Trey Young broke ankles and then did the shimmy before he shot that 3? It felt so disrespectful. And I'm like, fuck, this kid has it. Yeah, he stepped Buller. This kid has it, man. Suafa'alongo is going to be a star of our game for a very long time, I think.
I think he's going to get a contract much like Nico got at a struggling club or somebody that really needs a fullback at some stage. And there's not a lot of teams, like you start to think about like Canberra with Rapana getting older or a team like that. But I tell you what, I'd be throwing the bag at this kid. He is a jet.
100%. I'll tell you what, the Sharks would be silly not to throw the bag at him looking at Will Kennedy, because I said there was 2 handbrakes in the Sharks team, and Braden Trindle's one and Will Kennedy is the other. That guy literally may as well run backwards and probably do better than he does at the moment. He's terrible. And there was some chat also about Bateman being a handbrake for the Tigers, and I couldn't agree more, Mark. 13 sin bins this year for the Tigers. Bateman hasn't been one of them. I wish he was, to be honest, because I think we'd be a better team with 12 if he was off the park.
He can go back to the Raiders.
He can, or he can just go back to the Super League. That's completely fine too. I mean, yeah, I'm just not a fan of. I don't think he just wants to do too much himself. You know, there was one play, and I think I said it in our chat, where he went down the blind side by himself, up against 2 defenders. Like, what are you trying to do there? Like, I don't understand what you're trying to achieve. There was no one on the wing either. He just fucking ran down the wing by himself up against 2 defenders and did nothing, and then kind of skipped sideways and just passed the ball back to the half. Like, it's just 10 seconds wasted of you fucking around, John Bateman. So if you're listening to me, sort it out. Tigers?
He's like, fuck you. You're a bit fucking rough on me, yeah.
Oh fuck! You got the Kiwi accent last week. Now it's that was a pretty bad Pommy accent though.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
That was awful.
I was put on the spot.
Api Coruscant, you'd be happy with 90.
Big dick energy. He's going to be 700k this week. No, he's not a buy. He wasn't a buy the week before because we know he can score his 30s and he can score his 90s, but he is the best player on the Tigers and he is the leader of the Tigers.
For sure. Speaking of leaders or even future leaders, Lockie Galvin, 63. If we can hold on to him, we'll be in a pretty good spot moving forward, even if he does play at lock or wherever we have to use him. He's good, 63. And honestly, I'd argue Supercoach-wise, you could probably keep him as your 5-8-1 the whole way home.
So I know we talk about our teams a lot more on Tuesdays, but I didn't play Lachlan Galvin this week with his 63, fine, but I also spent 250k to get Nico Hines 69 giggity. So that could have been the most expensive. That's 250k for that extra 5 points.
50k a point. I mean, look, you're ahead by 5, which is good. So you could have had 1392. Imagine how shit that would have been, having 1392. Like you
after update, surely I get 1400.
Yeah, maybe that gap becomes bigger. You never know. They might find some extra points. Who knows? But yeah, Galvin solid. Hold on to him, I think, for the foreseeable future, because if he can score 60, 70 in games where the Tigers get beaten, and for the most part last week we got flogged and he still scored well, he's definitely a hold. Samuel Afinu with the 51, he's great at front row forward. Try and get him up to front row forward if you have him. He can be your FRF 3, I think, for the season, which is exactly where you kind of want him. Play him when you need to cover one of your starting front rowers if they're on the bye, and that's pretty much it. But for the most part, there's not really much else that we're loving from the Tigers from a Supercoach perspective, because I don't think you want to buy into a team that aren't getting wins on the board. So, yeah, we'll probably let most of them through to the keeper. But, yeah, plenty of options on the Storm. They're just not playing next week, so we won't worry about chatting about them too much. But there is plenty to talk about with the Manly Sea Eagles 21 beating the Cowboys 20. Now there's news, and we've got it from multiple people in the chat. Appreciate you guys popping that in. Adam, Cole has done an MCL, and is out for a month. Now that really hurts for everybody who bought last week. And look, it was a good buy. You know, he scored 70, what did he get? 83 after update. So he just got updated to 83. So this week again, he's done it again. He's gone to fullback. He scored 80, I think 85 or something last time. He scored 83 this time he was at fullback. And both times he's played one game and then been out injured for a month. Like identical, which maybe he just can't handle the extra workload at fullback in comparison to centre. So does that mean that Turbo goes back to fullback now after 1 week? Are they going to...
Fuck off.
Yeah,
this is
that
bullshit.
Sucks for you. That sucks. I ended up pivoting and going, because I remember I said on Tuesday I'm deciding between Kohler and Marju, and I picked Marju. I feel like I got out of jail free there, because now you're probably going to have – are you going to trade Kohler? Or do we just not 100%. Have enough trades? Because, I mean, look, there's an argument there that you could just hold him. But the problem is
then I don't want him –
and he's shit.
Yeah, and you don't want him back in the centres. He averages, 45, 50 in the centres? Like, That's kind of a bit fucking gross. He's going to come back to the centers because Turbo's going to be back. I had it basically as a play for next week. I actually had him maybe in my vice captain, like especially when I was thinking the fact that he scored 80 basically every other time he's played at fullback. I thought he's a safe vice captain option. But yeah, I'm disappointed. Like him and Kailero can just fuck off.
Good. Yeah, that's fair. DCE 82. Ruben Garrick was good with a 73. A lot of people obviously trying to get him back in their team if they sold him after that injury. For most of us, we held, but you'll get him a little bit cheaper this week. You'll get him around 650. So is he a buy next week? If you don't have Ruben Garrick, is he a must-have centre wing for the run home?
I don't know if he's must-have this year, but I think he's good value at 630K. I think I bought him at 598. And he's gone up, he's come back down, and that's just what centre wings do. So I think he's good value and one of the best players playing in round 19. But if you don't need the number next week, I'm not sure he's must-have at centre.
Ooh, I'm going to go ahead and say that he is. I mean, plays the Knights without Ponga next week and without Gagai. He plays the Gold Coast Titans in 20. The Roosters will be tough in 21, then they've got the bye in 22. I mean, if you want to wait until then, that's fine. I understand. But then you've got your Raiders, Warriors, Tigers, Bulldogs, Sharks. We don't know what the Sharks are going to be playing like in round 27. They might be resting people. They might be out of the 8. Who knows? And the Bulldogs have been quality. Bulldogs have been fantastic. So that'll be a tough matchup. But there's some really nice matchups here for Garrick and for Manly in general. So I'd go ahead and say that Ruben Garrick should be someone that you're looking at, I think, for the run home. But again, this is where you make your difference because he is well owned. So that could be your little pod, your anti-pod, I guess.
I own him. I just suppose as an owner, like tell me that you might not get the same value out of somebody that's 500K, like a Dallin or a Marju or somebody like that. If you really wanted to get spicy, like I'm not sure he's 200K better than some of those blokes.
Yeah, just depends how much you believe in Manly, really, I guess. Like that's kind of where it lies. Like, do you think Manly are going to finish strong and have a good little run into the finals, or do you think that they're going to shit the bed? Because that's usually off the back of Garrick, Turbo, DCE, Olakau'atu, those guys. So, buy into Manly players if you believe in it. Shout out to Phil. I'm sure he believes and he'll be buying as many as he can. But Turbo 45, now that Kohler's out, do we think Turbo just goes straight back to fullback? Is that the answer?
I think if he's not 100%, and in this one he probably didn't play his best game, and I know you're looking at scores, but you can usually just tell with the eye test. Maybe they're going to go Leahy Hopewadi, if anyone.
Yeah. That might bail some people out who still have him, because he was a bit of an AE nightmare this week. He's going to cop that score in his rolling average for a couple of weeks.
Made money this week. Made about $5,800.
Oh, how good. Probably disappointed about what his break even looks like next week, but I think it makes sense for them to just go Turbo back to fullback. Really, are they going to just persist with him at centre just to keep him healthy when like the statistics and all of the research has said that there's really not much of a difference between the positions?
No, if he goes back to fullback, I could see myself, after he bottoms out, going Dylan Edwards to Turbo.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Well, I mean, once you're confident in his body for the run home, he could be a buy after the Manly buy. You could get him into your team. So, yeah, I don't mind that play. Is there anybody else you want from Manly? Olakau'atu, Garrick, and I mean, we're not talking DCE. Saab got 111, but he's just faster Alex Johnston. So no thanks.
That's it. It was Kohler, it was DCE, it was Garrick, it was Olakau'atu with Kohler out. And I'm gonna look for the news myself a little bit and see how long as to whether he's worth a hold or not. But it's Turbo's intriguing.
Yeah, cool. And Ian Johnson in the chat saw a report that says that they're only playing Turbo in the centres for 1 week to get him back on the field. Again, who knows? It's, I'm sure everybody wants to have an opinion on this, so I'm not going to believe everything that I read. But
tune in on TLT.
We will
Tinless
find out.
Tuesday.
you'll probably find out more so like an hour before the game next week, because they might name him in the 3 and then he gets swapped back to the 1 and there's a few shifts going on, bit of ducks and drakes.
Late mail.
Mm-hmm. That's why we do it. Cowboys, mate, they are a little bit unlucky, but I tell you what, Chad Townsend probably got the worst shoe on in the NRL. Like, he had 4 misses, didn't he? 4 shots at field goal and missed every single one of them.
Well, Val missed one and Drinkwater missed one too, but Val's and Drinkwater kicked his sweet. I don't know why you wouldn't go to Chad to sweep across to Drinky, but look, I rate Val as a kicker, but man, Chad shouldn't have had that many options. He should just go to the Roosters.
It's pretty much where he's headed. I understand probably Chad would have been the third option, like the third option for field goal, just based on positioning. Like with Drinky being a left footer as well, they would have had him on the right side of the ruck. So, yeah, I assume that they just couldn't get the ball to Val because he was getting a bit pressured and they had to go to Chad Townsend. But, yeah, shocking. Pretty ordinary. We're not really talking too much about Cowboys this week, obviously, coming because they're not playing next week. And obviously they've got 6 players out with Origin. So we can probably skip past them. Val Holmes, 47, is the only guy that I owned for the Cowboys and probably the only guy I will own for the run home as well.
Fuck, I wouldn't mind. If you need to spend money elsewhere, I'm not sure Val is the must-have guy that we thought he was at the start of the year.
If you want to go an anti-pod on a guy that's relatively well-owned in Val Holmes, I reckon you could. If I wasn't so low on trades, I reckon Val Holmes could be a trade out. And I'll shout out Hamo because he was on this about 4 weeks ago. He's like, nah, not a fan of Val. I'm going to move him on. And I think he traded him out a couple of weeks ago. So maybe the writing's on the wall. Who knows?
He's also straight seed him on a Thursday night, so don't read too much into it.
He did that. He did do that too. And that worked out, didn't it?
Yeah, it did, 100%. But I tell you what, these hoes ain't loyal.
Yes, they're not. They're not. And he is listening. He did thank me for it. I'll flick you that 50 later. I'm going to give him his $5 donation back for saying that. We organised it earlier.
Yeah, cool. I'll send him some bolters. I don't know if you want to talk about the standard squeeze or about our Lord and Saviour, James Tedesco.
Well, I mean, for everybody that wants to know about the standard squeeze, I'd say the regular viewers would know by now. But, you've got your combo pack there. We haven't got a shout out for a skull yet, but you got to do it for the people because it is a Sunday night. There's no basketball on. You got no real excuse.
I'm gonna be up till about 3 a.m. watching Formula One anyway. So yeah, thanks, Ash. This is great. It pours the perfect nip. It is actually 1 ounce or 30 ml for those of you playing at home, and it helps you drink responsibly. And I don't know what else.
Oh, that's good. I mean, and conveniently is probably the word you're looking for, but
Thanks, man.
Yeah, I got you covered. And if you want to keep your drinks cold, you just get a little 4-in-1. They're quite nice, actually. You can put your coffee in it in the morning, which I do nearly every morning. Got little lids to pop it in the car so it doesn't spill. And then at night, if you want a 10, you just crack it in. It keeps it nice and cold. And they've got the thin ones as well. Is that a thin one that you've got there?
Yeah, that's a little thin one. I tell you what. Oh, let me just pop this thing out of the condom.
It comes protected as well. How good.
Yeah, it's got the thin one in your and you can get a range of colors. Like I see the blue one. I personally liked my black one. But yeah, drinks come in all shapes and sizes. So
they do. Absolutely do. Your little seltzers, the seltzers that you can get that come in those kind of medium-sized cans, I
actually don't mind me a White Claw.
Yeah, White Claw's good. Probably the only seltzer I drink, to be honest, because I don't really enjoy them that much.
Suntory's, bruh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Fair call. Okay, I'll give you that. But Ange said it looks like you haven't ever cleaned the mouthpiece on your combo pack. But the good thing, Ange, is you can just wash it up. You can put it in the dishwasher as well. Dishwasher safe, food grade quality plastic. So rock and roll. Get yourself some. Yeah, 15 is the code. 15% off. Happy days. All right, let's chat Roosters Dragons, mate, because this was looking close for about 60 minutes, and then the Roosters just ran away with it. And like you mentioned, our Lord and Saviour, James Tedesco, 148. He was 76% captained as well by the top 1% of teams. So that's why you're seeing so many big scores, because he was just such a no-brainer captaincy option this week.
And so he should be. He was playing the Dragons. The Roosters are humming. They're going to get out for Warrior Hardgreaves. Man, like, Teddy is... By round Teddy, like, honestly, like, not getting picked Teddy is the best thing since sliced bread.
Origin snub Teddy is just a different beast, isn't he? Origin
he's
snub
gonna
Teddy.
Will he be $1 million? Oh, he's going to be 980 next week.
Fuck. Yeah, he will be. Wild. Well,
and so he should be. He's a captain option nearly every week.
Do you buy him at 980 in round 20?
Nah, I punt. Like, the way that I am as a person, I would rather punt on a Ponga or have a dig at a Reece Walsh or Turbo or one of these other guys that have high ceilings, and then just death ride him and finish 30,000th.
So for those of you that don't want to finish 30,000th, maybe get Tedesco. Maybe.
I don't know how you can find the money for $1 million fullback.
I know. Jared Warrior-Hargraves, or as he's better known by Blocker Roach as Jared Warrior-Hargraves. He played his 308th game for the Roosters and broke the record for most games played for the Roosters and got sin bin. And Adam said it should have been paying $1.05. Apparently, they didn't even open a market because it was that short. So congratulations to JWH on his little milestone
contribution.
There. Solid, very solid. And also walked off with like blood all over his face, surely on purpose so the Paps could get a really good shot of him, because I've seen it all over my Facebook all afternoon.
I actually really respect him as a player. He's a pest. He's a hard dude. And did you see the guy that he passed? It's like Mitch Orbison or something. How great.
Yeah, that's outstanding. Very good. And for a prop to do that is a serious effort. So congrats to him. And 6 stitches for his efforts. I'm sure he'll remember that scar for the rest of his life. Back to Supercoach. Gus Crichton, what do we do with him? 88. We were having this conversation for about 10 minutes before we started, and I'm in a bit of a pickle because I'm unsure how I play this. Do we get Gus Crichton at 800K, who probably won't lose much money now? He got an 88. His break even was 103. Do we just get him in and just pay up to get probably the 2RF1 this year? Or do we get Olakau'atu at 600K for potentially 750K output for the rest of the year? Because that's a decision I need to make. I can't get both.
So, again, I know how I play, and that's how I didn't trade him out. I think if I'm in your position, I do go a Hamoli or one of these try-dependent, much like Britton Nickera, second rowers, and just like hold on to my holy shit bar up. Where's that on a car? Up there, and just pray and hope and then finish 30,000th. But Angus Crichton was the play. Yeah,
holding him was good for people who did, because he scored 140 in the 2 games, across the 2 games that he played. But then, he missed another 3. So I feel good about the fact he scored 140 across 5 games. I feel like that's where I maybe got the advantage. But now I'm in a tough situation where I've got to find money to go Fletcher Sharp in round 20. I've got to also find a way to get Gus potentially. But maybe this bailout to Olakau'atu and then just watch through the slits of my fingers.
You did say, like, do I think that Angus Crichton scores 15 more points per game than Olakau'atu? And I think he does. Angus Crichton is that good. The only situation I'm worried about is getting to round 26, round 27. You start to get these tired bodies. The Roosters are second with, and Daylight, they're the third. And, you start to get some restings from these blokes. But again, like I talk about when I do NBA drafts, like you can't bet on people getting injured, even though they do it quite often. You can't bet on these restings. Like, we don't really know what they're going to do.
No, that's right. There's every chance, and we were talking about this before, like Gus was rumoured to be rested in round 17, right? There was talk that he was going to be rested. Multiple people were reporting the fact that he was going to be rested, and he wasn't. He played 80, right? He played 80 minutes. He was the opposite of rested, right? They put him through 80 in Origin and then 80 for the Roosters 3-4 days later. I reckon there is every chance he rests in round 20. I think where there's smoke, there's fire. Like if there's enough people talking about the fact that he's going to be rested, I think that there is a chance that maybe it just didn't suit what they needed that week for round 17. Maybe something popped up where they needed him to play. But for me, I think there's much more of a chance of getting rested in round 20. So I'm in agreement with that, and which is probably why I might just go with Hamoli. So I'll confirm on Tuesday. We'll see how we go. But yeah, the only question mark for me is like, are we going to get the impact that we want from Hamoli next week without DCE?
Yeah, I don't think so. Did he score? I know that Manly didn't score any points that game, but I'm presuming Hamoli didn't score very well the last game that Daly Cherry Evans missed.
Let's have a look. Round 16. Well, Hamoli didn't play the game that DCE missed either because they were both playing Origin. So I'm not quite sure on the score. But yeah, tough decision. Anyway, Terrell May, kept thinking about trading Terrell May out for about 3 months. Like literally for 3 months, I've been like, is Terrell May a hold? Should I sell him? Should I move him on for a keeper? And he just keeps turning up. His last 3 games, he's gone like 100, 70, and 60. What do we do here?
I think like he's a hold if you've held him to this point. I've had to trade him out, scared of round 19, scared of that other bye because I owned Angus Crichton. I held him through that, and I really wanted to hold on to Dom Young. It's made sense. Even today, he scored 60, and Tedesco. And I just couldn't hold 4 and still field a serviceable team in round 19. But I think if you've got him and you've planned accordingly, and maybe you're one of those, like you don't have Angus Crichton, Terrell May's a hold.
What if I could do Terrell May to Gus like round 2021? Because like honestly, the cash works way better, me doing it like that, than trading out like a Curran or a Kai Pearce-Paul.
Probably 21, because round 20 you would expect Lindsay Collins gets a few less minutes because Terrell May can play the big minutes. And yeah, basically 21, but he's still a hold through this period.
Yeah.
And I've traded him out. I traded him out 2 weeks ago, but he's a hold.
Mad regrets with an A.
It's not really. Like, honestly, like, yeah, I know he's 70 sitting there with Finu, but it's saving me a trade this week because I've only got 3 Roosters out instead of 4.
Yeah, and that's, I guess the thing is everybody was a little bit worried about loading up on Roosters players. But for me, I'm not overly worried about that because their draw is quite good. It just hurts you in round 23 when they're on the bye, so you just got to be wary of that.
And 19. It was next week that was the bigger issue.
Well, I mean, I had Manu as well, so I had to trade Manu out. Otherwise, I would have had if I kept Gus, I would have had 5 Roosters in my team, which just ended up being too many. So that probably leaned to me trading Gus out too. But
I wish I kept Manu instead of Kohler. I'll give my 80 points back.
Yeah. Then I'll take the crown for the week. You can do that if you want. But yeah, look, I mean, Roosters have a good draw to run home. Teddy, fantastic. Terrell May probably hold for a little bit longer and then reassess after the bye. We talked about Gus already. Sam Walker, let me ask you this, right? If you're in a situation at the moment where we talked about Nico earlier, you've got Sam Walker and Jerome Hughes, who are very popular halfback duo at the moment in most teams that are in the top 1%, and you want to get Nico, who are you trading out? You trade out Hughes or do you trade out Walker?
If I have Dom Young, Terrell May, Tedesco, Crichton, then I trade out Walker because I need the number. But yeah, otherwise I still trade out Walker. I still think, like, just remember, Walker's not playing. Nico is the perfect round 19 number. Like we talk about him being non-existent and having the worst game and everybody's ragging out on him, and he still scored 70.
Yeah, because, yeah, that's right. 100%. You make a good point. You know, we're talking about Nico as if he scored 17. Like, he still scored 60-odd, but he got a junk try at the end, which kind of puts a damper on it a little bit. But we just know what he can do. And if the matchup, if the Sharks were playing the fucking Panthers or they were playing the Melbourne Storm or something like that in round 19, I'd be like, yeah, not overly keen. But the fact they're playing the Tigers is just, I think, too good to pass up. But for me, my answer to that question would be Sam Walker as well, regardless of whether you have heaps of Roosters or not. I just feel like Jerome Hughes, it's his team at the moment. And since Munster's been out, he's been outstanding. So I think there is every chance that I would trade out Sam Walker over Hughes.
Yep.
And yeah, Spencer Leniu was fantastic. He was very good. Don't want to leave you hanging, Swift. Sorry. When we go on tangents, Matthew.
Gotcha.
There you go. Well played. Yeah, we don't ignore questions or comments on purpose, guys. We, sometimes go on tangents.
Just get to them at the end.
Yeah, we'll cover them. Mate, let's talk about the last one. Knights and Raiders. Pretty good finish. This was probably game of the round for me.
I love that you skipped the Dragons. I just want to stop you because
I'm not talking about them.
I just went from 6 to midnight. Keep going.
I'm not talking about the Dargans. Nah, there's nothing to talk about with the Dargans. There's nobody that I would buy. I mean, your top score is Leilua at 78 and Little at 70. No thanks. No, sorry. Perfect. Shout out to Damien Carroll because he's a Dargan supporter. But we're not going to bother.
Thank you, people. The Dragon supporters can hate you instead of me. They hate me every week.
That's fine.
I get more messages from Dragon supporters than Dolphin supporters because there's about 3 of them because they're all just Broncos fans wearing red.
And shout out to Zach Lomax who got 25. There you go. So for everybody who wants to get him a bit cheaper for the run home.
Dicks out for Zach.
Dane Gagai, 115. Beast. Already talked about him. He'll be playing for Queensland, likely. Not 100% confirmed, but rumoured he'll be playing for Queensland, which is a good pick for Queensland, I think.
I don't know a centre that you could take instead of Dane.
No, agreed. Terrible for my fantasy team, who was relying on him as a number next week, that's for sure.
I brought him in this week.
Oh, that's rotten. Yeah, that sucks. Unlucky. But Greg Marju, 85. I would argue that he was the most purchased player last week by a pretty fair margin. I think over 20,000 people, 20,000 teams traded him in. We could very much see Greg Marju being the most purchased player 2 weeks in a row because he will be 570, maybe around that mark, and he will have a negative 20 break even next week. Buy?
I might be one of them. I mean, I took Kohler instead. I know I hate it. And my draft team celebrates because they've had Marju and Ponga all year as my first and second draft pick. But yeah, he's still a buy. Next week, he's not a captain option next week because Ponga doesn't play.
And yeah, no Bradman Best on the inside either. So Ian in the chat makes a good point. Yeah, it definitely does put a damper on his scoring opportunity next week. But I think when you can get a guy this cheap that has the pedigree and has reached the heights of 700 plus K that he did last year with Ponga in the team, I think for the run home you just bank that. That's kind of why I got him this week. I'm like 500K for Greg Marju if he comes. So
you got him instead of Kohler. You didn't text me, man.
Mate, I put it in Discord. All the unlimited members saw it. You just don't pay attention because you don't like my messages. So
yeah, I don't like you. I've actually muted you.
We talk too much through the week about our teams and Supercoach, and we talk too much on here that we just get sick of each other. Yeah, Marju, he was good. So I'd argue you could buy him again next week. Kalen Ponga Origin means that he'll drop about maybe 90K, or 85K, I think is the prediction. So he'll come down to under 800K now, which is perfect in terms of when we're talking a purchase. He will also have 140 odd break even, I think it is, when he plays in round 20, which...
Yeah, I think I let him drop a few weeks. And, I love Ponga. Ponga's probably one of my favorite players to watch. I think it's just let Dylan Edwards come back with Cleary and then go Ponga. But I'm going to be saving that one.
I'm with Ian. I might go there, to be honest, because I just like the narrative of... so I'm talking Ponga. I started with Ponga, traded him out, bought him back. He got injured, traded him out, and I might buy him again for the run home because I've never actually traded out and in a player 3 times in a season before. and I'm here for firsts, So let's see how we go.
Yeah, I mean, good luck to you. Like the Knights, I had a little bet on today, and I had over 48.5 points scored in this one. So, like, I just rated the way that the Knights usually score. And the fact that they only scored 16 points, and we're seeing Marju 85, Gagai 115, and Ponga giggity. You know what? When they open up and they score a lot of points, that just means we're seeing 100 pluses, right?
Pretty much. I would have thought so. Yeah. I mean, we're going to have to reassess round 20. I'm sure there's going to be a bit more going on in round 20 with Origin players not backing up and all sorts of turmoil and shit. So maybe I won't be in the position to buy Ponga, but I'll be needing to offload Fletcher Sharp in round 20, I'd say, when Ponga's back. So, yeah, that'll be a problem for another week, which is good. Anybody else you like? Kai Pearce-Paul, what are we doing with him? Because, I mean...
Oh, he's right there with Iro.
Iro? Yeah, your boy Iro. There's just no attacking stats for Kai Pearce-Paul. It's like he's just a magnet towards a defender. Like, I've seen him hit a hole like twice all year. So, are the attacking stats going to come? Because we keep talking about the fact that he hasn't had attacking stats, but like, is he capable of doing them? He's a good player.
So it's 10:30 on your favorite Saturday of the year. You're at the race course. You're looking and you see this magnificent beast sitting there and you're like, that's a winner. But you read the form guide and this guy just finishes 4th every year. And that's what 50 Supercoach points equates to. And that's who Kai Pearce-Paul is. He looks like a guy that could score tries. He looks like a guy that should be scoring tries. And he's just not there. He's a poor man's Johnny Bateman.
Oh, fuck. That's rough. That is very rough.
Johnny Bear.
Kai Pearce-Paul could be your ticket to an Ola Kawatu. He could be your ticket to one of those kind of mid-range guys that has either fallen in price or you could nuff him out completely, from round 20. I think I'm just holding him for a number next week because it doesn't really hurt me. He's not going to drop too much.
30. I need his 30 next week.
Yeah. I mean, he'll get you 40. 42, I reckon he'll get next week. But,
Thanks.
He's definitely a trade from round 20, I think. So, probably keep an eye out on that. I mean, what's going on at the Raiders, mate? Anything else to talk about here with the Raiders? I mean, they're not playing next week, so not overly relevant.
Look, I rate Joey Taps. I'm really glad that I own him. He's just a 700K guy that's going to land on 700K. But with the Raiders' injuries, I don't even know if that's the best way they should pick their team. I'm staying away from everyone else.
I think so. Yeah, I got Taps in my team at the moment, and there's not really anybody else that I want. I mean, KO Weeks has been awesome in fantasy because he gets those kick meters, but playing at fullback, he didn't, which kind of hurt his scoring. Luckily, he scored a try. But yeah, other than that, if you still have him in Supercoach, I think he's a trade. Morgan Smithies took his first hard hit up today. That was really nice to see.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, first hard run of the season. He actually hit the line with some form of effort. So that was good to see today, of one of the fucking probably 4 runs that he took all game. The guy's just a tackle bot. So if you're not off him yet, definitely move on from him. And that's about it, really. There's not much else going on. But fuck, like, how are you looking for next week? Let's talk numbers, and then we'll answer some questions. How many numbers do you have?
I think I've got 12 if David Fafita doesn't play. Otherwise, I've got 11. I'm going to queue in 3 trades anyway, because I want to trade out Kai Pearce-Paul and Kale Iro. So if I've got the numbers this week, I'll just trade them out instead of other guys. Of course, until this episode, I didn't know that Tolu Kola wasn't playing. I was okay with trading out a Val Holmes or somebody like that. So I've got a bit to think about, but I've also got more nuffs than you. I've got Miles Martin and Vili Fafita and Joey Lussick. So,
Joey Lussick, the nuff no one intended to have, unfortunately. Yeah. But I've only got Jed Cartwright as my nuff. So I've got a bit of flexibility there, but I actually don't know what trades I'm going to make next week. I'm looking at my team right now and trying to work out who can go. And at the moment, it's kind of like Josh Curran, but he's probably going to spark his cash gen again, and he's okay as a front row forward too. I mean, Terrell May, I'll hold until probably round 21. Kale Iro plays next week, so I don't really want to trade him. And now that Kalen Pong has been named in Origin, or supposedly been named in Origin, I don't need to trade Fletcher Sharp next week. So I'm like looking at my team and I'm like, I don't really know who I want to move on. Like, is it too late now to move Val Holmes?
I mean, at 680K, because he was 720 and he's going to drop a heap of cash this week, I kind of just want to hold on to him. Like, but if he was 720K, I'd kind of want to nuff him. I kind of played him because I thought that he'd score really well this week.
I'm just going to quickly look at top 1% ownership because I want to see what he's owned, how many players he's owned by. Well, he's at 39.6% owned now, Val Holmes. So he could actually end up being a pod for the run home. I don't know how I feel about it because he hasn't been performing, but sure, he's got that 150 in him, Val, like when the Cowboys click.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of a team, a score you want in your team on one of those weeks. So I'll probably hold on. But, Sam Hughes, maybe I could nuff him out or find someone that's going to play next week or something.
I don't know if he's worth nuffing out at 350K. Like, I don't need 150K. I need 450K.
Yeah, that's true. Stephanos, I'm not nuffing Holmes. I'll like trade him for a genuine option, I think.
Fuck it, I'd nuff him.
No, I don't think I would.
No, I don't care. Cash. If 500K gets you, I don't know, Fainu to Haas, so you spend a little bit there, and then it gets you Cody Walker to Cleary, like that is worth not having to deal with Holmes. If you just go, like Ian Johnson says, Jake Targo or somebody, Tungo, or somebody like that. Like if you're using the play to get Payne Haas and Nathan Cleary in your team, that's worth it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We're looking at getting all these guys back. I've got to get Gus. I've got to get Cleary potentially. You could make money from a Jerome Hughes to Cleary trade. If you're someone like Mattrix who has Sean Johnson and you have to find a fair bit of cash, then you're in a different situation.
I got Nicholas now.
Oh, you got Nico. That's fine.
Yeah, so I had 300K this week, and then honestly, 5 minutes before the game, I checked the weather and went SJ to Nico and got me the extra 8 points by sitting Lockie Galvin. 6 points, 5 points.
Supercoach 101, people. How to get extra points. Let's answer some questions. Remember how at the start of the pod, we're like, we'll make this one quick so that we can get more questions done? Fucking hour and a half later.
Silverstone starts at 12. I'm here all night.
Yeah, good. All right. We have had some requests as well to commentate a game or just go live when there's a game on and shit. That'd be good banter.
Can we get live during the Formula One with you just not knowing what's going on? That'd be great.
Why is that guy pulling in here? Why do they pull in?
Why are they going to soft tyres? Why do they keep commentating on what tyres? Why is Danny Ricciardo's nose so big?
I'm the guy when I sit down with my wife and watch a movie that we both haven't seen. I'm the one asking her questions about who's that guy? What's he doing?
I hate that guy.
That's
or
me.
That girl.
Yeah, that's me. All right, let's riff into these questions. Aussie Windsock to kick things off. Have we seen enough of Ponga to pick him up next week? I mean, he's playing Origin, so you won't need to pick him up next week, but the week after, eye test wise, I don't know about you, but he looked good and he didn't look hindered or hurt or anything. He looked quick. He looked agile. I think it's that trademark sweep around the back and then that step inside to beat the center. And he did that and ran probably half the length of the field before he got tackled. That's enough for me to bring him in, I think.
Yeah, look, and past the eye test, I actually wanted to bring him in fantasy this week. I just chickened out because of the Origin thing. So I just thought I'd bring in Tedesco. So I went Tedesco and Gagai instead of that. Worked out really well. But yeah, if I was saucy and I was really chasing wins, unfortunately as podcasters, we sort of get ranked by our ranking. I reckon if I was just playing at home, I would just bring Ponga in. But
Yeah.
I'm just so scared of my rank going outside of 10,000 Ks and me having to cop shit every week.
Well, it's like a currency for podcasters. Like every time you say, "Oh, I do a podcast," or someone asks you about a podcast, the first question they ask is, "Oh, what's your best rank?" or "What did you come last year?" So like we have to be wary of like certain moves. Like we can't go and just take stupid risks, knowing the fact, it could get you to 20th, or you could end up 20,000th. So yeah, we have to be wary of that. But if you're flying by the seat of your pants and you don't care too much, could be a play. Melissa Hanson though, getting ahead of the game here, brought in Saab this week. Go you fast thing, the faster Alex Johnston. Yeah, absolutely.
Good. You're gonna have to trade him out this week because he's injured.
Saab.
Yeah,
injured.
Saab got hurt.
Oh, did he? Fuck, I missed that. Okay, good. Well, that's a shame. At least he got 111 points before he got moved on, so that's fine. Wall TV, is Nico Hines a sell to Cleary when he's back? I mean, we haven't really talked about that as an option, but is the Sharks' draw for the run home good enough to hold on to Nico? I don't think you'd do Nico to Cleary. I think you might want both.
Yeah, I think you want both. And let's just get her up on the screen. You might have to pop J Wall off. Souths, which is now looking like a really good matchup. Titans, Newcastle, St. George. Yeah, no, fuck. You want Cleary for this. No, sorry, you want Nico for this. There is, Panthers might not lose a game all year. The only tough game is Melbourne there. Great. But we've talked about halfback being the premier position in Supercoach, and then we've got thrown a lot of curveballs this year. You want Cleary and you want Nico. I'm sorry, you don't even want Jerome Hughes.
I would agree. I tend to agree. Cowboys, Souths, Titans. You're going to play Souths without Trell as well. Titans, the Knights have been very hit and miss. Dragons, Warriors and Manly to finish the year. All of these teams leak a ton of points. They're not.
And the Sharks need wins.
Yeah. Fuck, that is. Yeah, you want Nico. I don't think you'd trade Nico out for the run home if you had him.
This is what I looked at. And yes, I made the wrong decision this week bringing in Nico this week after death riding him. I was looking at the weather and, mate, I was looking at absolutely everything to not talk me into Nico. But when you have a look at that, Nico playing 19 is absolutely must own this week. You're paying $700K. You're paying Britton Nickera money for Nico. You're paying cheaper than Keanu Kinney.
It's true. Yeah. I think I might. I mean, Cleary could end up being a pod. Just purely off the back of the fact that people are just loving Walker and Hughes for good reason. So you could comfortably get Cleary in and he could stay under 40% owned in those top teams. So it could be a nice little pod play for the run home. I am going to aim to get both. That's probably my approach, but we'll see how popular the move is because I might anti-pod Cleary as well. If 80% go and get him, I might just not, just to make a little bit of a run. Reese's next question, would you sell Wishart to get Hines? I mean, I feel like Wishart's probably done his job. I mean, with Munster due back, I think it's around 21 or 22. Wishart's only got, around 20 left, potentially? So, if you can do Wishart to Hines this week, I probably would. I think he might have topped out in price or get kind of close. $650K for Wishart. Do you really want to squeeze an extra 50K out of it and miss Nico against the Tigers?
Yeah, it's a great question because we don't know who your second halfback is. But if it's Dylan Brown, if it's Cody Walker and all these blokes, then yeah, I think that you want to go Cody Walker to Hines or Wishart to Hines, and then you're going to go Wishart to Cleary afterwards. I
mean, Cody Walker plays next week, so there's no point trading Cody Walker and keeping Wishart.
Go Wishart to Hines.
Yeah, probably go. I'd do it. Yeah, for sure. To answer your question, long way around the question, Reese, but we got there. Is Ola Kawatu a buy, seeing as he missed out on Origin? I think he is. Absolutely. That's a no-brainer for me.
If you've got Fafita, Crichton, Katoa, and Nickera, that is the only situation that you do not buy Ola Kawatu because you only have 4 reserves.
Good shout. You're going to want to always reserve your second halfback. For the most part, you're probably going to want to reserve 2 centre wings this year, with how strong centre wing has been on matchup, and then your fullback probably too.
You're going to have a fullback, you're going to have a halfback. You want to play one or two centre wings on matchup, and then if
You've only
you've
got room for
already
one
got
more.
Fafita, Crichton, Katoa, or Nikora, you got a second rower already.
Yep, agreed. And we just talked about how good the Sharks draw is, so you're going to want to play Nikora most weeks too. So that's another consideration, right? Makes it a bit tricky. Andrew Barkworth with the next one. Not a massive amount of relevant plays for round 19. Is it okay to run 12 next week?
Yeah.
And honestly, I think it is. I agree. Just due to the fact that people are going to probably try and tear their teams apart a little bit or trade out guys they want to keep next week just to get the extra player. And if you're doing that, it's not worth it. I think for me, especially with the amount of trades we have, unless you've got 16 plus trades left from next week, you can't go and trade guys out and then have the freedom to bring them back in. It's kind of like anyone that you bring in at this point, you're kind of more often than not stuck with them, I think.
Yeah, I'm the same. Like, I didn't rip my team apart last week because I only had 16 playing after certain players got ruled out and everything late. So, yeah, definitely don't rip your team apart when you could score like an extra 15, 20, 50 points on the run home just by saving those trades. Yeah, like, play smarter, not harder. If you're playing head-to-head, then definitely just lose a week. It doesn't matter. But, yeah, as podcasters, we sort of have to get the best on the park. But I would be completely fine with playing 12. It's when you go to play with 10, you start to hit panic stations.
I've seen and lost to many teams in the past that have had 12 and I've had 14, or 15, and I've overshot the buy and got beaten by a team that played under and are in a much better position than me. So yeah, it's not the end of the world. Ethan Malone, if your 2RF is looking like Katoa, Gus, Nikora, and Keon Kalamatangi, who we haven't spoken about much tonight, are you keeping them all and going Kai Pearce Paul to Fafita, or would I not need Fafita? I think this is probably the only instance where I would call Fafita a must. Like, I mean, we talked about those 5 guys. We talked Hamoli, we talked Nikora, we talked Katoa, we're talking Gus. What if you don't have Fafita? Because we actually haven't had that scenario.
But you don't need 5 of them. I would be going one of those other guys to Fafita and nothing KPP.
Yeah. So if you don't have Fafita in your team, you consider him a must-have?
Yeah, because Fafita's more of a must-have than everybody not named Angus Crichton.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say Fafita and Crichton are 1 and 2. However you want to order that, it's up to you. But they're 1 and 2.
1A, 1B, yeah.
And then you've got Hamoli, you've got Nikora, you've got Keon, that are basically pick 2 of them, I'd probably say. And then Nikora, yeah. All right. What do we got? Reed versus Horsburgh. Swift. Reed Marnie versus Horsburgh. Who wins? Well, I mean, I've seen Horsburgh try on the field, so I'd say Reed.
Yeah, and it's all about like it's not all about strength; it's about agility as well. And I would be really surprised if I could see Corey Horsburgh even land one on Reed. Like he's just sharp and he's just nippy. I reckon he could just get around. There'd be some haymakers thrown, and I tell you what, I've never got beaten up by a redhead. So
okay, very cool.
Actually, yeah, no, I did once. Chris Abbock.
Oh, good. Good. I've heard that name floating around in the BBL circles. So
yeah, I tell you what, he's got a good right hook. Hook.
I want to hear the story about that one, Nate. Ian Johnson, did you talk about Keon Kalamatangi? What are your thoughts? I love him. I think I touched on it quickly and said that he's been a beast and he's been fantastic. And there's no reason to trade him out, especially next week. Great number for round 19. You could hold him for the run home. I think I'd probably class him in the same category as a Nikora or a Hamoli. Probably.
Yeah. It's if you own him, he's not a trade out. I think like we're talking about blank canvas. Who would you have on the run home? And I think if you own Nikora, he's not a trade out. If you own Keon, he's not a trade out. But I definitely don't think you trade in Nikora, and I'm actually not 100% sure you trade in Keon. It's just if it's a blank canvas, yeah, that's why we're talking about Nikora maybe a little bit more than Keon. But if you have Keon, he is a definite hold. And especially at lock, I think he's going to go to second rower again, but especially at lock, he is like, it doesn't matter whether Latrell plays when he plays at lock.
There's 3 tiers at 2RF. I'm trying to think about how to word this. There's 3 tiers. Tier 1 is Fafita and Gus. Tier 2 is Eli Katoa by himself. And maybe, I don't know, maybe Hamoli, but probably Eli Katoa by himself.
Yep.
And then tier 3, you've got Hamoli, you've got Nikora, you've got Keon. So basically, if you can have a starting 3 2RF of Katoa, Fafita, Gus Crichton, you've got probably the best 2RF that I would consider. And then, pick one of your tier 3 guys, basically.
In my head, I keep sitting there going, how am I going to get Hamoli in my team? And I'm looking at Kai Pearce-Paul there. And then you look at your whole team and the fact that you want to play center wings on some, and like, honestly, you only need 4 playable second row forwards. And then to cover buys, then you're going to play 3 and you're going to play an extra center wing. Like, you may as well just nuff these players like Kai Pearce-Paul out and spend that money on upgrading a Finu to Haas or a Curran to Haas, or
From round 20.
understand what I'm saying.
Yeah. Keep Kai Pearce-Paul for a week. Hamo's asking, would you go Kai Pearce-Paul to Keon or Hamoli? I mean, refer to the previous question.
Hamoli.
Both tier 3.
It's Hamoli for me.
It's purely based on money. That's it. That's the only reason I'd pick Hamoli, is that he's probably going to be 100K cheaper than Keon. That's pretty much the only reason. And
he's going to score more points.
Yeah, probably has a little bit more try scoring upside, I think, maybe Hamoli than Keon.
The Manly draw is elite. We went through that earlier.
Yeah. Mr. Callio, Weeks to Nico, I think, for me, or should I wait for Cleary? Nah, don't wait. Just go Weeks to Nico this
Nicholas.
week. That's a lock. I think if you can do that this week, and then Cleary could be back in round 20, have a look for a week or two, and then make a call on that with whoever your other halfback is. And last one from Ian, Fafita, Katoa, Nikora, Keon, KPP, and Chan is my 2RF. Is that a viable 2RF for the run home?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, you got 4 playable options there, and Kai Pearce-Paul is someone you can lean on for a 40 to 50 if you really need to, if one of these guys gets injured or they're out, or you run out of trades at the end of the season and you've got to play Kai Pearce-Paul. It's not the end of the world.
Updates are in.
Go on. What'd you get?
14-21.
Motherfucker. All right, let me check. My internet's a bit slow because I'm streaming. Maybe the app will be quicker. What'd you say? 14 what?
21.
Shit. Nice. 1350. So I got 18 extra points. I'll take that. That's not too bad.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I was about the same. I got 25 extras.
So I was predicted to lose every head-to-head bar 1 at the start of today, and I ended up only losing 2 out of 8. So that's not a bad
I
day.
lost 2. I had somebody score 14.69 and someone score 40.62 against me. Guys from the inside.
I'm in like 8 paid leagues and all sorts of other leagues. My public league, I'm 13th at the moment, and I just got beaten by a guy who scored 1,520. So shout out to Trent. His team's Cherboy. So, he absolutely dominated me. I can't buy a win in this public league. I don't know what it is about the public league this year, but they're fucking torching me. So good times. Good times. We should wrap this one up. I saw a comment in the chat about how we're not going as long or streaming as long as the AFL boys anymore. It's not a competition. Okay. They can stream for 2 hours if they want to. They have fun.
And that's because I'm tweeting all night about the Formula One. So, come in. Tweet about the Formula One with me. I tell you what, that was one of our highest performing posts, me getting up in the middle of the night and posting about the Austrian GP. So,
yeah, you had fun. I remember talking to you in the morning and you weren't in a great spot, but shout out to Adam.
You know what? I was in a good spot. You're like, I would have never been in a good spot if I was up that late.
I don't know how you do it. Like, you fucking wake up fresh as a daisy after having a fucking case of beer to yourself. Just an animal, absolute animal. So, good from you. But shout out to Adam. Thanks for the donation, mate. Mattrix signing off with a shot. That'll do us. Brings us to the end, of course. And if you haven't yet, please hit subscribe and like. We would really appreciate that so we can help the episodes reach more people. We will be back on Tuesday for Tin List Tuesday. And Mattrix, finish things off. Who wins tonight?
Lando Norris. He needs it. It's practically the Silverstone Redemption Tour right now.
Whatever that means, that's great. See you Tuesday. Catch you later.
Cheerio.